Hello, this is a video on how to play the card game 14 Out. 14 Out is a matching solitaire card game, and it is played using a standard 52 card deck. You deal 52 cards face up to 12 piles. The first 4 piles contain 5 cards, and the remaining 8 piles contain 4 cards each. The top card of each pile is available for play, right? It's the only one available for play. The play involves removing pairs of cards which add to 14, hence the name 14 Out. Aces are given a value of 1, Jacks 11, Queens 12, and Kings 13. All other cards have their face value. Once a pair of cards has been removed, the next top card from the 2 piles is available for play. The game is won once all cards are discarded. So the game is pretty simple, right? In terms of setting it up, that's the only, I guess, real difficulty. First 4 piles have 5 cards. The remaining 8 piles have 4 cards each. So let us play, right? We just want cards that add up to 14. You do have to be smart in this. You're right. You'll win if you discard all the cards, but you'll lose if you run out of moves. And so you can't just discard any 2 cards you see that add up to 14. You have to be strategic. You want to discard 2 cards that not only add up to 14, but uncover 2 more cards that will aid you in adding up to 14. And so let us sort of see here. I guess we'll just do a quick demo here where we do not really play I guess thinking too deeply. But do note that that is not how you should really play Jack. So Ace, King, Queen 2, Queen. So as you can see, right, 10 and 4 adds up to 14. 5 and 9 adds up. In this case, I'm able to see all of the moves that can be made, and so it's easier for me in that regard. So note that, right, there are only ever 2 cards that can interact, right? In this case, 8 and 6 are the only 2 cards that would ever be able to interact. 3 and Jack are the only 2 cards that would be able to interact. 7 and 7 are the only 2 cards that would be able to interact. Queen and 2, Ace and King, right, as you can see. So we ran out of moves there, right? We weren't thinking, and this is what I was cautioning about. It'll be very easy to simply find cards that add up to 14 and remove them. But if you don't think ahead about what move is to be made, then you'll find yourself with no legal moves left, at which point you'll lose the game. And so it is simple, right? First 4 piles, you deal 5 cards. The remaining 8 piles, you deal 4 cards to each pile. But in terms of winning the game, there becomes a point where you won't be able to easily remove cards, right? The less cards you have, think about it like this. The less cards you have, the less possible moves you have, right? And that is because the number of cards on the board decreases, therefore your number of total possible moves decreases. And so if you have less moves, there's a greater chance, probability-wise, that if you have less moves, you'll end up in a scenario where you have 0 legal moves. So that's the real issue. You have to think ahead. It is not enough to simply remove cards that add up to 14 without a care in the world. That is not how you play solitaire, right? You must always think ahead. So, let us try again this time, right? That was sort of a demonstration. Okay. We know that it's hard to sort of think ahead for this. Okay, we know that we can remove the ace and the king. What are all the possible moves here? If we remove that 10 and the 2, we don't have a queen. So we're not going to go ahead and do that. We move that 8 and the 6. We have a jack. We do have a 2 for that. So that's what I'm going to do here. We'll remove... Oh, sorry. That's a 3. So that was actually a bad move there. I thought... Yeah, so I messed up my addition there. My apologies. We remove the 9 and the 5. You have a 7. Do we have a 7 for the 7? Nope. You want to remove 2 cards such that they immediately have 2 cards afterwards that can benefit. 8 and 6. Nope. 5 and 9. No. Does not seem like it. But we have our king and our ace. That's always beneficial. The 3 and the jack. Nope. And so, just to demonstrate one more time, rather than going for a boring video in which we think out every single move, we're simply going to sort of look at the potential moves we have and see which ones, I guess, make the most sense. Now, we want to try to get those 2 some action. To do that, we'd have to expose some queens, and to expose some queens, well, the first queen we can expose these 2 queens, if possible. Right, so I expose that queen. That gets the 2 some action. The ace gets the king some action. So if we expose the queen, we can once again get the 2 right there. And so that's sort of how you strategically play. Now, let us think about any other move that could be made. 6 and the 8, the 10 won't really benefit us here. We don't have too many 4s. We do have 2 3s for the jacks, and so that's the move to be made. Now, here, now we have 10s. Now we have a 10 that could benefit, sorry. We're going to remove this 8 and the 6. That allows us to, actually this 8 and the 6, that gets us closer to the 7 and the 7, which can be removed. Now we'll remove this 8 and 6, and then this 10 and 4. That gets these 2 7s together. Now, we have the 9 and the 5 there. Which 9 should we remove? Well, we can also remove the 3 and the jack. But see, notice how we have less moves, right? The less cards you have left, the less moves you have left. And so it becomes more and more dangerous for you. Now, we have our 9s here. And so let us sort of think strategically. If I remove this 9, right? Okay, I did not mean to do that. If I remove this 9, that'll expose the 2. Would that have a partnership? If I remove this 5, it would. If I remove this 9, that'll expose the 9. And that could go with the 3. And so what I'm going to do actually is remove this 9 right here. That has the queen with the 2. And so now we have the 3 and the jack. Now we also have the 9 and the 5 there. But we do want to do our best. And so we're stuck here. And why are we stuck? We have an ace here, right? And so we are going to inevitably lose this. We have an ace here, and we have no king to pair it with. So these 3 cards, they can never be exposed. And so what would have been a wise strategy? It would have been wise to look ahead, plan ahead, and say, hey, I have a king here. Or sorry, I have an ace here. I have to save a king for it. Otherwise, I'm going to get stuck and I won't be able to move it, right? And so always look ahead for cards for which you'll have difficulty moving. And so that's pretty much it, right? There is a luck component to 14 out, right? If you get cards that are so wildly different and you can't add them up for whatever reason, then you'll lose fairly quickly. But most of the time, you should be able to make some decent progress. Note that the later you get in, the higher your risk of losing, because you have less cards, thus less possible pairs, increasing your chances of defeat. That wraps up how to play 14 out. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.